Tzvi ben Miriam. Zev Tzvi ben Miriam, we are dedicating tonight's learning, tonight's class, all the Jews that are going to be watching and benefiting from this class, or non-Jews, for the complete refuah shlema of Zev Tzvi ben Miriam. You should get it back on your feet and have a complete refuah shlema. Lots and lots of people need you. Okay, let's begin. Where's my Zoom people? Where you at? Okay, there you are. All right. Okay, so we're going to start with a little bit of a different kind of topic. Okay, we're going to start with something that happened in Israel on Friday, this past Friday. I'm just going to whisper a little bit because my kids are right here behind me in the bath, and I don't want them to hear this part. This past Friday, I only learned about this on Monday. I only learned about this on Monday. I just was scrolling down Facebook and I saw someone write on their timeline, rest in peace something. So I went in and I cried the entire Monday, from the morning till I went to sleep at night. I woke up the next morning and my kids saw me with like these huge bags under my eyes, like, bags. And they were like, Ima, I don't think the cream that you're getting is working. I think it's making it worse. I think your eye cream is making it worse. Let me tell you what happened. Okay, this is super, super, super important to talk about and to discuss. A woman by the name of Diana Raz, here in Eretz Yisrael, a mother of 4 children, something to the effect of like a coacher, teacher, an online presence, thousands and thousands and thousands of followers. What does she teach? What does she do? She teaches relationships, about relationships, how to find the right man, how to find the right one. Let me just move this from the light because it's a little annoying. How to find the right man, how to find the right one. And she gives amazing tips. I've never heard of her before, but apparently all of my friends here in Israel used to follow her. And so basically, she was always talking about how amazing her marriage was. And she was always giving examples from her previous relationship, how abusive it was, and what a people pleaser she was, and how she was always trying to make him happy and, just please him in whatever way she can. And then she has this whole thing in her classes, in one of her classes online on YouTube, you can watch it, and it's in Hebrew though, where she teaches that she broke off with him. They were supposed to get married. She broke off that relationship with him. She went off to New York. She had a whole discovering of herself, and she came back to Israel and she met her current husband, and they got married, and they have 4 kids, and now she's this big relationship coach here in Eretz Yisrael, and all her neighbors, all her friends, all her family members, everyone was on the same page. There was no she wasn't portraying one thing online in order to keep her business, going, and her business was a big business that was going. She wasn't trying to, put up a show on one side and on the other hand, cry to her family, cry to her friends. No, she didn't. Everybody was under the same impression that everything was good. And everything was good. That's the thing. Everything was really good until Friday. On Friday, she came home. This past Friday, she came home, and they're not talking to my kids because they know I'm telling you something they shouldn't be listening to. So on Friday she came home and they got into an argument, an argument that was not a big deal, wasn't a big argument. And her husband, who is amazing, who she only has the best things to say, stabbed her, then shot her in the leg, and then shot her in the head and killed her. 35-year-old mom of 4 kids. And what happened? I'll tell you, people die all the time. People nowadays, I'm connecting more. Right before Corona hit in February, I was in Auschwitz, and it was my second time going there with a group, and when the tour guides would tell us, there were just bodies all over the floor, there were bodies all over the ground. Where you're standing, there was tons of bodies. There was just bodies everywhere, and everybody just stepped over them. The Jews that were left alive, they just stepped over those bodies and continued working and continued, their day to day. And I always thought to myself, how is that possible? How did they not, I don't know, anything, like respond, get sick, get nauseated, faint, like dead bodies everywhere? Because human beings are creatures of habit. We are creatures of habit. My feed is full of rest in pieces and refuah shleimas, and very, 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 very sick in the hospital, and please daven, and please take our mitzvah, please contribute to this family that's mourning their mother, their father, that these children need to have caretakers. Messages that I'm getting on my WhatsApp, children for adoption, father died, mother died. It's all happening, okay? Children up for adoption. We have a 1.5-year-old, we have a 3-year-old, we have a 7-year-old. We have, we're living in a time where a year ago, to hear of more than 2 people or 3 people that were severely sick, that I know of, was not. I didn't know people that were severely sick, okay? In the way that I know today. My high school classmate, 36-year-old girl, mother of 3, passed away. My other high school, there are lots of people that I know. My neighbor here, mother of 8 kids, passed away. People, it's happening. And I'm sure you all know, because we're all living this nightmare together. So, Diana Raz, and the reason I want to talk about her right now is because I want to talk about domestic abuse. I want to talk about abuse in relationships, because you can be in an abusive relationship and him never laying a finger on you. You can be in an abusive relationship and him never, ever, ever hurting you physically. You can be in a very, very abusive relationship, just like she was. Diana was in a very, very abusive relationship, and she didn't know she was in an abusive relationship. Why? Because he never hit me. He never laid a finger on me. And everything is so clouded and so sketchy that you don't know where to trust yourself. You don't know where you end and where he begins. You don't know if the things that he's saying to you are true, or he's just putting something in your head. And after time, you start thinking that you're at fault, that you're the wrong one. After time, you're hurting in the relationship. You love him. You want to make things better, but it's always somehow your fault. It's always somehow you're the one that has to comfort, and somehow you're the hurt one. You have a conversation. You say, I was hurt because you said this and this, or you did this and this, and I felt this from that. And at the end of the conversation, you're apologizing for something. You're apologizing. Somehow the whole thing was twisted around, and somehow now you're the one apologizing. Now you're the one feeling bad. Now you're the one feeling bad that you even got hurt in the first place. Now, right? And there are so many examples of domestic abuse that is not abuse, that is not him lifting a finger on you, that is not him, putting a gun in your head, putting a gun to your head. But it can lead to that. 2 women in Israel have died this past year with zero complaints on their husbands, not to their family, not to their friends. No one, never laid a finger on them. But the first time he laid a finger was the last time she breathed. So it's really, really crucial for us women here listening. It's really, really, really important, and for the men as well. And the reason I'll say for the men, because the men today really, really need to step up. You need to step up, not in a way of becoming more, more refined, or being in a way of understanding that if you are a normal man, if you are a healthy man, if you are a man that is not interested in controlling and in forcing yourself and in making the other person second guess themselves 24/7, if you are a man that is a decent, kind man, you men are getting a really bad rep for yourselves. Okay? And the reason for that, I believe, is because not enough men are standing up against the abusers. Not enough men are standing up against the pedophiles. Not enough men we're not hearing enough male voices about these things, about abuse specifically. And they're coming from the male sector. They're coming from the male gender. Okay? The abuse that the women are experiencing today, especially, I would like to add this, especially in the religious frum world. There is, I was thinking, if Diana would have reached out, if she would have reached out before she was murdered on Friday, okay, let's say she would have reached out to somebody, what would they have said to her? They would have said this. The conversation would have gone along the lines of, well, did he ever hit you? Because she loves him, right? So she's not gonna tell them all the things that she thinks to tell them or wants to tell them or have brought her to the position that she's in today to make this phone call, because a lot of those things are her fault, or lots of those things he didn't mean it, he's a good guy, he has a good soul, and all of these justifications that she's made in her mind. So let's say she would call somebody, okay? What would somebody tell her? Did he ever lay a finger on you? No. Did he ever threaten to kill you? No. Did he ever? So maybe you should need to go for some, therapy. Just go for some therapy, both of you. He sounds like maybe he's going through a hard time. And the reason that I'm telling this to you, my friends, is because I had my fair share. Okay? And when I was in it, I had no idea. I had no idea that this is what was going on. All I knew is that I felt very bad all the time. And guys, you're being recorded nationally and domestically and internationally. Okay. That's what I knew. Okay? And okay, so go lie down in your bed. Okay? Take a drink of water. You look fine. Okay? So what happened? Now, as a result of this, I'll get back to stuff afterwards, but I just want to read this to you because it's really, really important. As a result of my, discovering what happened to her on Monday, I started researching her all day, all the hours of the day, any article that came out about it, anything that came out about their relationship. Why? How is it possible that a woman like her, so brilliant, so bright, so type A personality, so organized, they have money, he was a cop, how can it go from all or nothing? How can it be so extreme? There was nothing in the middle. She's giving relationship tips and she's telling you what red flags there are, and she's giving you all of that. How is she not seeing it? Mainly, if she was the kind of person that didn't know anything and she was just not learned, and she has thousands of women following her. She's a relationship expert. She teaches about domestic violence. She teaches about abuse and relationships. She teaches about how did she not see the red flags? So last year, this time, another woman here in Eretz Yisrael, also I just told you about her. Her name is Michal something. She was also, and now her sister. Her sister has set up a whole thing online for women here in Israel, how to notice the red flags when he never lays a finger on you. How to notice the red flags when you are not getting abused, but you just don't feel good. You feel rotten. You feel guilty. You feel unheard, unseen. You feel unloved. You feel all of those things. Okay, and our minds, what happens to us when we're in an abusive relationship, our minds, they start to play games on us big time, where everything is my fault. And how could this good person, such a kind person, because you see evidence of kindness all the time. He gave this one tzedakah, he helped this one when his car got stuck, he brought him flowers, he helped clean for Shabbos, he took the kids out. How could this good, kind person, not be good and kind? I know he is. I sleep next to him every single day. I know he is. So it must be me. Okay, so she came out, this sister, she came out with 5 warning signs. And this is really, really, really important. Okay? Get these warning signs if you are in a relationship, whether you're married or you're not married or whatever it is. If you are in a relationship, this is something you need to know. Okay? You need to know. And men, like I said before, I really think it's time for you guys to organize yourselves. You need some kind of a coach, a leader, someone that has no problem, representing you, getting together and making it very clear that you take no part in this. You have no side to this. And we've come to a place in just the chapter that we are in history, we can't make stupid jokes about females anymore. We can't. They talk too much, this too much. Men can't, if you are not one of those kinds of abusive guys, because it seems like there are more abusive guys than regular guys. Okay? It seems like there's more mental illness within the men, that are around today than there Maybe it's because we know more, because we're exposed to more, maybe because we don't talk about the good guys, we don't talk about the bad stories, maybe whatever it is, but it seems like a lot of stories. In 2021, we are in February, since the beginning of 2021, 2 women in Israel have been shot and killed by their husbands that have never laid a hand on them, a finger on them. This is becoming, maybe it's because of COVID, maybe it's because of people being at home in their heads for too long, maybe it's because of the dark sides that come out in people, maybe it's because of things that when you're busy and you're running and you're going and you're this, you don't feel it so much, but when you're home and your job is closed and you have to Zoom everything, or you don't have a job, or now there's no, I don't know what it is, but there's something going on. Okay, so since there's something going on, and since this is something that's becoming a real fear, I can't even tell you what this did to me, how much it triggered me, where it put me, the fears that came back up for me. You know, the realization that, oh my God, I never fully recovered from this. And the fears that come up, you know, I can't imagine all the women that I know and all the women that there are that have divorced themselves from, I'm just talking about the women that are divorced, I'm not even talking about the women that are still stuck. Talking about the women that are divorced, those women are still, you think that just because we get our get, then we move on? We get our get, and then we start licking our wounds. You know, I'll never forget this, and I think I shared this here before, but I'll never forget the day when I got that message from that man on Facebook. And he got into my head. Not everyone gets into my head anymore. I'm very, very careful. He made me get into my head. He said to me, why should we take advice from a person like you? Look at you. You don't have your life together. You don't have a husband. You don't have this. You don't have that. And he went on a whole, you know, and this I think was the only message I've ever received that I can remember that really sabotaged me for a few days. And I remember feeling like at the end of reading his message and at the end being like, he's right. I don't have anything more to offer. I don't have more to offer. Maybe he's right. Maybe, you know, you have to be rich and successful and married and have an amazing marriage and all of these things in order to teach Torah. Maybe you do. Maybe he's right. Maybe I have no space to talk. But what I didn't know then, okay, when I got this message, that I do know now, is that, and this is, I tell them to myself every single day, I say, honey, you are an amazing work in progress. For what you've been through and how far you've come, you are an amazing example for whoever wants to take an example. Because it's an example of not falling apart and letting everything rot and go to hell. It's not falling apart and letting children just, you know, behave as they want and have a very dysfunctional life. I'm not saying that falling apart is bad. I had my fair share of falling apart. I'm saying for an extended period of time where the divorce or the relationship or whatever happened with him really got to you so badly that you are paralyzed. You are paralyzed in bed, can't move. And every single day, for the last at least 6 months, I have been strengthening myself and telling myself all the words that I needed to hear from best friends that I've had in the past that, you know, didn't say these things, and people that were using a lot of rationale as opposed to heart and knowledge, that it's not, the proof is not in the pudding all the time. You are a work in progress. Where you've come from, that's what matters. How far you've come, that's what matters. What you've gone through, that's what matters. How productive and happy you are today, that's what matters. That is where you need to bet your money on how happy a person is, and how good they are, and how much they care, and how much they do, and what they bring to the table. That is how you measure a person. Not by how much cash they have in their bank account, or if they have a smiling face, you know, of their spouse in the picture, in their Facebook picture next to them. It's not, the way we think about these things is so black and white. And Deanna Raz, which is, anyone that's listening right now that just came on right now, Deanna Raz is an amazing example of what we're about to learn right now. She didn't say a word about her relationship with her husband. She only said it was amazing. And I think that she really believed that she was amazing at it. She really believed that she knew how to balance him. She knew how to walk on eggshells when she needed. She knew how to, word things correctly. She knew all the things because she was the relationship expert. She knew you can't change your husband. Don't we always learn that? You can't change him. You can't change her. If you want to change them, forget it. It's not going to happen. Good luck changing yourself. So she already, being the relationship expert that she already knew I can't change him. Do I love him? I love him. When I got divorced, I was completely still loving of my husband, even though it was the decision that I made. The love is very strong, right? And so she loved him, she cared about him, and he's all these good things. So he has all these weird things in his character. She knows, she's the boss. She got it. She has it. I got my business going under control. I got my kids under control. I got the house under control. I got the bills under control. I got the groceries under control. I got myself under control. My weight, my happiness, my health, my what's it called? My shitufei pa'ula, the work that she was doing with other organizations and people and big names and all the things that she was doing here in Israel, only to get shot in the head by her husband on Friday morning. These are the warning signs, my friends. Listen to this. Obsessiveness. If he is obsessive about, he doesn't want you to go out with your friends. You get invited to parties, you get invited to dinners. He's a party pooper. Only when it has to do with his friends, or only when it has to do with his thing. He doesn't want you to, he doesn't want to go out with you. He gives you feel bad going out because he's just like, and you feel bad leaving him. So he doesn't want you to go, and he also makes you feel bad. You see him looking through your phone. You see him you find yourself deleting messages, deleting contacts, deleting social media posts that you put up. Okay? This is examples of a dangerous person that has never lifted a finger. Okay? Are we clear? Danger, danger, danger. Alert, alert, alert. Never lifted a finger, but he's never hurt me. He's never pushed me. He's never done anything to me. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Okay, we don't want to be another statistic. What he does, he often brings up the way you're dressed, and if someone else is looking at you, okay, he might make up stories. I saw somebody looking at you. It's because of the way you walk around. It's because of your whatever it may be. Okay, you could pick on anything. You could pick on anything. You're fat, you're skinny, you're shaitel, your eyelashes, you did your eyebrows too much, your nails, he could pick on anything. Okay? He's obsessive. He's obsessive about you. He's obsessive about how you look, where you're going, who you're talking to, who you sent messages to, all of it. He's obsessive. Okay? That's red flag number 1. Red flag number 2. It's a two-faced relationship, which means there's a one face at home and there's another face around people. I'm not saying when you're outside alone, because when you're outside alone, it could be the same story as when you're inside. I'm talking about you're inside one face, outside around people, it's a whole other face. All of a sudden you're honey, all of a sudden you're sweetie, all of a sudden different things. Okay? So two-faced relationship, one in public, one at home. You find yourself also presenting your relationship, okay, to your family, online, to a friend, in a positive light in order to please him. Okay? In order to get him to feel happy, to feel good, to feel good about the way you're presenting the marriage, yourself, your relationship with him, how amazing he is, how much he helps you, all of that. You're always making sure and that's from a healthy place, my friends. There's the healthy place of complimenting your husband, giving him good words. Then there's the place of if he overhears me, giving him a compliment. If he overhears me, that'll score some good points. He'll be happy, he'll be calm, he'll be pleased, okay. Then we have, it's still two-faced relationship. Is he a misken or is he mesukan? Meaning he has these two polar opposites, where on one hand he's a nebach, he's frail, he's misken, he's poor me, he's hungry for love, he's been abused, he's been hurt, people don't give him a chance, he doesn't, he's like this frail guy. And on the other hand, he also has his times when he's attacking and scary and even perhaps vicious. Okay? When there's this yo-yo situation, my friends, listen, when there's a yo-yo situation, because when I was in this, I didn't have a clue. I thought it was moods. We all have moods. Okay? So it was pour me, heal me, help me, I need love, things are not working out for me, I don't know what to do, it's so hard for me, my past relationship, she cheated on me, or she hurt me, or she whatever, my boss, or my friend, I lost their trust because they hurt me, they stabbed me in the back, or some story of that where he is the Nebuch case. Okay, and then on the other side there is the attacker, the screamer, the one that scares you. Okay. Another red flag. He buys you gifts, flowers to forgive him. You are his entire world. You mean everything to him. He only wants you. There's never going to be another woman. He's never going to get remarried. There's never going to be anybody else. It's only you. It always was you. He's stupid. He's an idiot. He's so sorry. He let his yetzer get the better of him. He was under pressure from work, from the kids, from you, from whatever it was. Okay? He gets you flowers. He gets you gifts. Everything, you're his everything. He promises that he won't act in that way and he will never hurt you again. Okay? Those are red flags, my friend. Okay? Now, it's not one of these things alone. It's a few of these things. You gotta have a few of these things in order to start being careful. Because again, remember, the stories that I'm bringing you are not domestic violence stories. They're not domestic violence stories. They're stories where it went from 0 to 100 in 1 minute. Where the red flags were there, where the potential for mental illness was there, the potential for different things was undercover, as long as you were walking on eggshells, and as long as you were sweet, and as long as, you knew how to basically maneuver him, and as long as you knew how to deal with the relationship, then you're good. Things were good. But in these cases that we're talking about, the women were doing those things, and then in one day, in one moment, out of the blue, it seems like it was out of the blue, but it wasn't out of the blue. Out came out the gun. The third one is gaslighting. Okay, there are 5. The third one is gaslighting. You're always at fault. No matter what. It's always your fault. Nothing you do feels good enough. He makes you second guess your thoughts. He makes you second guess the things that you remember. But I remember you saying this and this and this. What are you talking about? I never said that. What? You make things up in your head. You're always making things up in your head. Hey, babe. Yeah. You can't talk to me right now. I have a teaching class. Okay, אתה לא עובד עבודה זרה, השם עליכם. Okay, one, yeah. Say hi to the camera, are you shy? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm leaving another class. Okay, you go figure it out.
But
you have to go to bed.
What can I do?
Go to bed.
No, I want to have any coffee.
Okay, and then the next one is so it makes you second guess your thoughts, it makes you second guess all the things that you remember. But I remember it being this way. What are you talking about? It was never that way. I never said that. He never did that. We never went there. That never happened. Gaslighting. Okay, it's always your fault. Nothing you do is ever enough for him. You never feel like he's like, wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. That was incredible. You totally, it's always something. Okay? If you work, it's not okay. If you're home, it's not okay. If you take care of the kids, it's not enough. If you don't take care of the kids, it's not enough. It's never enough. Number 4. Feel like you always need to walk on eggshells. His mood changes from good to bad without any reason, really. You don't know, you never really know what it's gonna be. Okay? It could be great. All of a sudden, it's neglectful, gaslighting, bad mood, not talking, mean, cold shoulder, all of those things. Okay? So you don't know. You're always kind of walking on eggshells. Does he freak out from small things? Are you scared he will react in a bad way if you offer to separate? Okay, if you decided that you want to separate, you want to leave, are you scared that the response is going to be a scary response? Are you nervous about his response? Meaning, do you feel like it's going to escalate? Okay. Does he freak out from the small things? The milk falls on the floor, I don't know, bread thing, something, not enough gas in the car, you're late to your doctor's appointment, something. Does he freak out easily? If he says he will kill himself if you leave, that's a major, not romantic red flag. Okay? That is not romantic. This is not Romeo and Juliet. This is not any of that garbage. We are talking real life. If the person that you are in a relationship with you're in a relationship with, and you say to him, okay, you say to him, I want out. I'm unhappy here. I want to separate. And his reaction to you is, I want to kill myself? Run. I'm not joking. Because it's either you or him. And number 5 is, does he have a problem with addictions, hurting animals, destroying stuff or property? Does he have access to a weapon? These are very, 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 very important red signs, red flags for us women. Okay? Again, this is something that you need to know. There is no excuse in 2021 for women not to know this. In light of everything that's going on, of all the women that are being killed during our times today. They're being killed by their husbands. And that is something that we need to look at. Again, since January 2021, which is a month and a half, not even a month and a half, 2 women in Israel were killed by their husbands. And the last one that I spoke about, Diana Roz, was completely, the whole country is in shock. Because her sister was interviewed, her mother was interviewed, her father was interviewed, her in-laws were interviewed, her best friends were interviewed, her neighbors were interviewed. Everybody she knew was interviewed. Not a sign, not anything. And you know what's interesting? Before I read anything about her, I went onto her Facebook page and I saw a video, a seemingly stupid video of him and her and the kids from about a month ago, where he was raising money for ALS or something like that. And in her tone of voice, you can hear the walking on eggshells. You can hear her shushing her kids so Abba can do his thing quietly. Even though he didn't need quiet for it, he was running back and forth. You can hear, let Abba talk. You can hear the walking on eggshells in her tone, in her breath, how her voice is more stretched out. It's more, you just hear it much more high pitched. You hear it. But not if you're not looking for it. Only if you're looking for it. If I were to watch this video before I knew those facts, then I would never have seen it. I would never have heard it. So we got to know about these things beforehand. Okay, my friends? We got to really know about these things beforehand. And stay away. And when you're dating, also, I just have to mention this and then we'll move on to the Parsha, which is very interesting. The Parsha actually talks about this this week. When you're dating, remember, when he talks about himself, he is so animated and he's so connected and he's connecting to you and he's, loving it and you ask him questions and he loves to answer your questions. But when you talk about yourself or when you talk about something that you're interested in, anything, okay? It could be like, I don't know, the shekel to dollar amount today, okay? It could be anything. If he is not equally as interested, meaning giving you the time of day, looking at you, understanding what you're trying to say, there's a communication going on there, stay away. Stay away. That is a warning sign. Just stay away. Okay? That's something that's really, really important to know. What can we do? That's why I'm saying men really, really need to take a step up. Men need to take a step up and say, hey, we're not all crazy. Because there are too many warning signs already. Literally. Too many. Too many signs that give women the feeling that they need to run. And it's not a joke. Men have to be like, if we're not listening to you on the first date, maybe it's because we're intimidated by the way you look or different things, but you should note that, at some point in the day we will, and there can be a healthy communication at some point in the day where we really understand each other. I really am repeating back to you what you said, so I understand what you're trying to communicate with me, or something, okay? Because otherwise it's getting really out of hand. So what I want to talk about right now is this week's Parsha. Now, this week's Parsha is so brilliant because it gives us something very, very important as human beings, which is the laws. It's literally called the Parsha of the laws. And we go from all of the miracles and the miracles and the miracles and the supernatural and the supernatural and the supernatural, when we hit the peak and our souls come out of our bodies and they reunite with, the collective soul, and then they come back when we got the Torah, and we're in this mega spiritual ruchnius trip. We're on a trip. And then right when we get the Torah, all of a sudden these are the laws, okay? We get the books of laws. Listen to the laws in this week's Parsha. Okay, I'm reading to you them all in English. Listen to how many, listen to the laws, listen to what we're talking about. Here, it starts with the laws pertaining to servants, marital obligations, murder, honoring parents, kidnapping, compensation for injuries, theft, responsibilities of borrowers, guardians, renters, seductions, sorcery, bestiality, idolatry, exploitation, loans, respect for authority, donations to be given to the tribe of Levi, truth in the administration of justice, interesting, behavior towards enemies, Shemitah, yearly cycles of holidays, mixing meat and milk together, conquering Eretz Yisrael, and the eradication of idolatry. We have all of these mitzvos. So Moshe gets the Torah from Har Sinai, last week's Torah portion, brings it down to Klal Yisrael, and the Klal Yisrael Nasa V'Nishor, we get the Torah, this whole thing, the souls leave the neshama, souls leave the goof, souls come back into the goof, and then Moshe takes the Torah and he goes back up. God calls him up to the mountain another 40 days. He goes up to the mountain another 40 days, and God teaches him the laws of the mitzvahs. He comes down and starts teaching the laws. So up until now, it was like holiday, honeymoon kind of phase, where it's like, wow, okay, amazing, I'm gonna high, and then it goes to, all right, now let's begin with the nitty-gritties. Okay, and the nitty-gritties, we know the nitty-gritties of honoring parents. We know that even if your parent is an abusive parent, you still have to honor them. You have to talk to a Rav about your specific situation, but you still have to honor them. Okay, there's the exact, if there's a pit and your donkey falls into the pit, this is what it's talking about in this week's Parsha. Your donkey falls into the pit. Who's responsible to pay for the donkey? Who's responsible to pay for the injury? Who's responsible to take care of this? It's talking about all the laws of loans, that if a person doesn't, someone asks you for a loan. Okay, this is one of the laws in this week's Parsha. Someone comes to you and says, can I have a loan? And this person has property, or this person can sell something and make some cash. Okay? Liquefy some of their assets. The Torah tells you, give him the loan. Even though you can make cheshbonos for him and say, no, listen, he can sell some stuff and he can make his own money. Why should I give him? It's not like he doesn't own anything. It's not like he's homeless. So the Torah says, no, give him a loan. Give him a loan. You know why, the Torah explains? Because you never know if in a past life you were the one that needed the loan, and he was the one, and you had money. It wasn't like you didn't have any assets. You had assets, but you still needed a loan right now, today, in this moment. You needed a loan. And this guy was the one that gave it to you. You never know if in this lifetime, it's coming back to you. You never know. So all these things that the Torah tells us all of a sudden, up until now, it was all like lights and cameras in action. Up until now, it was all beautiful and love, and God is so loving to us, and the man and Chris Yamsuf and all the stuff. Oh my God, so many firecrackers. And then now we're talking about donkeys and pits and raised barriers and kidnapping and respect for authority and behavior towards enemies and Shemitah, not working the land of Eretz Yisrael for a year, and the Isra of mixing milk and meat, and all these things. Like, what's up? What's up? What's up? So I want to just tell you this amazing true story that I fell in love with when I heard it, because it's so indicative of who we are and what we are. Okay? And let's not forget that the Torah gets into serious detail. All right? When you're intimate with your husband or you're intimate with your wife, there's details there. Lots of details. Okay? When you are tying your shoes, there are details. When you are keeping your kitchen, there's a kosher kitchen, many details. Okay? So many details. Like, why can't I just be connected? Why can't I just have, God in my heart? I wear a kippah in my heart, Why does it have to be like I can't cut toilet paper on Shabbos? Or like, I have to be shomer negiah. Like, maybe when I was 16, I had to be shomer negiah, but today, I have women telling me all this all the time, and it's become the new normal. Today, I'm in my 40s, I'm divorced, like, I'm not shomer negiah, that's for little kids. Okay? So no. So it's not for little kids, and it's not for, for when you were younger or less experienced. Talking about day-to-day, like minute-to-minute laws. And what the story is that this Jewish girl goes to Thailand, she goes to India, and she does her whole little trip there, this Israeli girl. She gets to India, she joins an ashram. Okay, she joins an ashram, she becomes the main Talmidah of the Dalai Lama. Okay, she becomes like his main. I messed it up. Okay, I messed it up. It's fine. Listen. She's about to leave Israel. She's about to go on this trip to India. Her friend who did tshuva and, became all religious, tells her, before you go to India, come with me to a Torah class. Sometimes we have to go out to the world to look for God, but he's right under our noses, literally under our noses here where we are. He belongs to us. And she was like, no, I don't think so. It's not, Torah is not for me. It doesn't speak to me. Too many laws, too many nitty gritties. This, you have to cover your elbow like this, and you have to cover your elbow like this, and you have to say the bracha, and you have to say the end of bracha, and you have to cut the toilet paper, and you can't cut your nail, and you can't. Enough! Alright, let me just live my life. I want spirituality, but I don't want all these obligations. So he convinces her. So she says, okay. She goes with him to a Torah class. Now, he loves this teacher normally, but for whatever reason, this teacher on this night was teaching about the laws of theft. Probably this Parsha. The laws of theft. He was teaching about the laws of theft. Yeah, it is this Parsha. The laws of theft and what happens if you find something that's not yours, how you have to deal with it, and you have to write a sign, and you have to give clues. You can't say exactly what you found, but you have to give clues as to what it looks like. It's brown, it's leather, it's gold, it's whatever, okay? You have to give clues, but you can't exactly describe it. That's the mitzvah of Hashavas Saveda. Those are the laws of Hashavas Saveda, where you have to return something that you found and you're not allowed to be mali mayin. The Torah says you can't be like, oh shoot, I see a wallet on the floor, let me just turn my head this way and just keep walking, because now I'm obligated. If you see it, it's yours. It's your responsibility. You are obligated now to be mefalsem, to publicize it with giving only clues, and then when the person calls you, there's a whole thing on how to return an object, a lost object. There's a whole thing on how to return a lost object. It's not so simple. It's not like finders keepers, losers reapers, like we used to say in public school. If I found it, it's mine. So she's sitting through this very boring, very long class with her Baal Tshuva friend who's eating his hat. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe I brought her to this class of all classes. I thought he was going to be talking about proving God's existence and all of these things, but no. Anyway, she said to him at the end of this class, she said to him, thank you, but you keep this Torah of yours. I'm out of here. I'm going to get some spirituality. I'm going to get some Buddha under my belt. I don't need any of this. I don't need any of this just law, and very intense, lawful, way of living. She gets on the plane, she becomes, very, very close to the Dalai Lama, and one day she's taking a walk with him. She's taking a walk with the Dalai Lama, and this is a true story, okay? She's taking a walk with him years later. This is years later. And she learns from him, and every movement that he makes, and every gesture that he makes, everything. She's taking notes. She's really, really the real thing. She wants truth. She is a truth seeker. All of a sudden, guess what? There's a wallet on the floor in India while she's walking with the Dalai Lama. So he bends down and he picks it up, and she's like, taking notes, like, oh my God, what's he going to do? How's he going to return it? What's he going to do? And he puts it in his pocket. And he keeps walking. And she says to him, what are you going to do with the wallet? How are you going to return it? And he said, who said I'm going to return it? And she said, what do you mean? You're not going to return the wallet? And he said, whatever God sends you is for you to keep. Whatever God puts in your path is for you to observe and to keep. Something along those lines. Something like that. And she was like, yeah, but like that has someone's passport in it, and like their name and their address and where they are and their phone number. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's not nice to just hold on to it, And he went on his little spiel again of like, all that stuff. And all of a sudden it all came back to her. She went back to the ashram, she sat on her bed, and she couldn't stop thinking, oh my God. Of all the classes in the world to listen to before I leave Israel, when I never ever heard a Torah class in my life, of all the classes, it's the Hilchos of Hashavas Aveda, of how to deal with someone's lost object, how to return it, what the signs are, when to return it, not to be mal and ayin, all of the nitty-gritties of the Torah telling us how to return a stolen object. Of all the classes to go to, that is the class I went to. And this experience that she had with the Dalai Lama, of taking that wallet and not even thinking twice about returning it to the person that lost it, she said, this cannot be truth. This cannot, the life that I'm living and the person that I'm following here, this cannot be true. This cannot be what God wants. This cannot be the reality. It can't. She goes back to Eretz Yisrael and she starts learning, and eventually this woman did tshuva, started keeping Shabbos, and today she's religious. What did she see? What did she understand? Every relationship starts and ends in the details. Everything. Everything. The tone of voice, the morning, good morning, the from beginning to the middle to the end. Every relationship, all this, you know what? This part of the Torah, it's going Mishpatim, and then it goes to Teruma, all of that is now that we fell in love. Now that the infatuation stage is over, now that you received my contract, you received the covenant, we're in this relationship together. Now, here is how it's going to look. This is how it's going to look. This is how you're going to talk. This is how you're going to walk. This is how you're going to eat. This is what you're not going to eat. This is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to do under this circumstance and that circumstance. And if the donkey falls into the pit, and all of it, this is how you're going to do it. This is what it looks like. And for the people that are superficial, then it's a turnoff because they just want, they just want the whipped cream. They don't want the hard work. But you, being in a relationship, what makes your relationship so amazing? What makes your relationship good? What makes you close to your husband, to your wife? What makes you close to your kids? What makes you close to that best friend? What makes it the daily, the shifts, the small shifts, the being careful with your feelings, the being careful with the words that you say, the rephrasing the sentence, the details, how do they like their coffee? Do they like it hot? Do they like it medium? Do they like it with soy milk? Do they like it with almond milk? Do they like it with 1%, 3%, 1 sugar, 3 sugars, cinnamon, cocoa? What do they like? It's in the details. It's all in the details. Yes, your toilet paper on Shabbos, that's your love relationship with God. And that's what's going to make you understand Torah and be connected and have siyat d'shmaya and have bracha and have emunah. That's what's going to happen. That hangnail on Shabbos, yes. Your laces, when you tie them, right, left, right, all of that, yes. That is what makes your relationship with God. It's not when you go to the mountaintop and you meditate and you are all just one with the powers that they may be. And no. It's when you don't want to give tzedakah and you reach into your pocket and you give that 5 shekel, that $1, that $30, when you don't want to say Parshat Tehillim because everyone's flooding your Facebook page with 1 million Tehillims that you have to say for 1 million people, and another name and another name and another name and another name. For every one of those names, stop for 1 second, say the smallest Parshat Tehillim that you know, the shortest one. I think it's like one of the last ones in Sefer Tehillim. There's like 2 sentences. Say the shortest one you know for that neshama. It's in the details. That's where it's all at. That's where it's always been at. That's how it happens. You want to be able to be a person that sees God in her life, sees God in his life, sees not just the bracha and the hatzlacha and the mazel and get your shidduch and get your parnasa and get the house you want to buy and the car you want to buy, not in exchange for anything. You want to live a life where God is next to you, where he's beside you, where you feel him, where you sense him, when you know him. You want to live a life where you have to have the shmaya, when you get the right eitzah, when you get clarity, when you don't have to make a bad decision that's going to cost you in 10, 20, 30 years, that's going to cost you your life. You want that? You got to know that, yeah, is this a meaty pot or a milchik pot? Yeah, it's in the nuances. It's in the nuances. That's where it's always at. We have to understand that. Okay? If you want a God that's just going to be like a girlfriend, that's just going to be like an amazing, just like experience, and like, oh my God, I like literally feel my neshama, or like I'm so connected. But you have a really, really hard time controlling your impulses, or you don't even try to control your impulses in order to better the relationship, then you're also in your relationship with God for selfish reasons. It's all selfish. It's not real. You understand that? Spirituality is different than Torah observant. It's different. Now, we all have to, take steps in the direction of the details and how much we can do and when we can't do and when we can do and all of that. As long as you're in the game, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. As long as you're in the game and you understand that it's the details that make up my whole relationship. It's the DNA. My tying my shoes this way, literally, my friends, listen, you taking another 30 seconds or 10 seconds in the morning to tie your shoes the right way, or to kiss the mezuzah, or even though that's not a mitzvah, but, or to greet another person with teeth, show them your teeth, or whatever the mitzvah is that you're doing in the morning, feeding your, whatever it is that you're doing, you have to know that it might even seem so dumb, like I'm 45 years old, I'm going to be showing again, like Devora, retarded. And that's what we're learning from this week's Parsha. We are learning from this week's Parsha that all of those contributions that you make, that you don't understand, that are above and beyond your rational mind, where it doesn't make any sense, where it doesn't add up. But you do it because you know Torah's chaim, and Torah is emes, and Torah is godly, and God gave us the Torah. And he sees a bigger picture, a wider picture. He has a bird's eye view. He sees, he understands, he knows, he's above and beyond it all of the rationale that you have, and all the realizations that you have, and all the knowledge that you have. It's a drop in the sea compared to the big picture. So in the moment right now, it can seem ridiculous, so ridiculous to give tzedakah, so ridiculous to give meiser, so ridiculous to be shomer negiah, so ridiculous to care about the shoelaces, so ridiculous of like washing my hands closer to my bed, not washing my hands, if washing my hands, all of these things. Who cares if I wash my hands before hamotzi? Who cares? All of these things. Don't you understand that it's not the one thing, the two things, the three things. It's the overall practice of all of these things that mold you into a godly person. They make you more godly than physical. They make you more godly, more connected. More connected doesn't necessarily mean I'm connected. More connected means that literally it's going into your DNA. Your genetics are changing. What you're going to give to your children, your unborn children and your born children, is what is rushing through your veins. And that is all of the deposits that you make into this relationship that you have. You can't be echad b'peh v'echad b'leiv. We can't tell our kids, put on a yarmulke, put on those tzitzis, put on this, put on that. And meanwhile, we're not davening, we're not wearing yarmulke, we're not wearing tzitzis, we're not doing any of those things, we're not, whatever. But it's the right thing to do. You can't do that. You know why you can't do that? Because it's not going to stick. Not on them. What sticks is your self-sacrifice. You don't even have to say it. You don't even have to say, I am self-sacrificing right now because really I want to say Lashon Hara and I'm not. You don't even have to say it. It's in the air. It's in the air. It's going to get into them. It's going to absorb in there. It's going to absorb in there, I promise you. And you will also have a schus. They're going to have a schus avos from you. You can have a schus. And I spoke to someone yesterday, he told me, he said to me, I have not been religious in ages. He grew up in a very religious home. He's not been religious in ages. He's like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. My son, he's like a full-time learner. I don't understand. I tell him, go get a job, do something fun with your life, go hang out with girls, live a little. And he's always learning Torah. I don't know what it is. And you know what it is? That's called tzchus avos. That's called someone, and I actually know who, I can't share it with you right now, but someone in this person's lineage did a lot of good. Did a lot of self-sacrifice. Gave up of himself, of what he thought was pathetic or what he thought was the right way. He gave up of it, mevatel his mind for the emes. And that is what happens when you make deposits, when we make deposits into something that is above us, is beyond us, because it's the emes. From there, our emunah grows. From there, our children's Yirah Shamayim grows. From there, they inherit the concept of having a relationship with God and bringing Him into your life for real. Not stam, for real. Really. That's how it happens. I just want to read to you one thing from our sefer here, from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I want to read to you, this is something very, 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 very befitting the beginning of this talk about abuse. Listen to what it says in this week's Parsha. It says, if a person uncovers or digs a pit, and an ox or donkey falls into it, the one responsible for the pit must pay for the damage. Okay, that's the halacha, Mishpatim. Okay, that's the law. Okay, and then he says something very, very interesting. It's very short, but listen to this brilliance. Oh wow, I love this. The same law that applies to a pit, a sunken hazard, applies to a raised barrier or other obstacle. Okay? An obstacle, something that is either a pit in the ground or something that's bulging out of the ground that can be dangerous. Okay? A protruding hazard. Spiritually, a pit represents our ability to receive, and a protrusion represents our ability to give. Properly used, when we are able to receive and to give in a proper way, these abilities can be beneficial. Without proper, listen to these words, Lubavitcher Rebbe, without proper supervision, however, they may cause damage. Without properly taking account of who are you giving to, who are you receiving from, who are the people in your life, who are the personalities in your life, who do you feel great with, who makes you feel like your better self, who makes you feel like you are scum, who makes you feel like you are not good enough, who makes you feel like if you only tried a little harder, then maybe they'd like you. Who are you receiving from? Who are you giving from? Who are you giving to? And he says like this, without proper supervision, however, they may cause damage. If we give and receive haphazardly, not paying heed to what or how much we are giving or receiving, or to whom we are giving or from whom we are receiving, we will become a danger to society. But if we choose to accept only positive influences and spread only positivity throughout our surroundings, we will become a source of blessing to all that is around us. Meaning, the law that we learned here in this week's Parsha, from the one law out of the many, many laws that I said before, okay, is be careful from these pits and be careful from these bulging, hazardous, protruding things that may be there. Because if somebody falls into the pit, then you have to pay for it or whatever it is. But the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he stops here and he says something very, very, very important. He says, you need to know who you're giving to and who you're receiving from. If you are receiving from someone that is dysfunctional, that is mentally unstable, if you are receiving or giving to somebody, which is usually a giving and receiving situation, okay, where you're usually giving more, but it feels like you're just more apologetic for your absolute just existence here. You're just apologetic for living, for being on this world, okay? I just had a thought which was scary, but the point is that if you are in this position, you have to be very careful. That's what he's saying here. Who and what. And if it's making you feel negative or negativity, if it's poisonous, if it's toxic, you gotta know that you have to run away or let it go. Because he says here, you might turn into a danger in society. And that is exactly what happened here in Israel 2 days ago, on Friday. It's exactly what happened. She was putting a lot of her koach, a lot of her love, and a lot of her attention, and a lot of her efforts into something that was rotted and sick. And that is what created the situation that we have now. 4 orphans that don't have mother or father now. And where did that come from? It came from her need to make sure that everything was good on the outside. Everything on the surface looked good, was properly tucked away, was just so, everyone, the picture perfect house, the picture perfect family, the picture perfect couple, the picture perfect parents. The kids look great. The pictures are amazing. The online presence is wonderful. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? You have to know this. If you are in a difficult spot, if you are in a hard relationship, I just want you to know one thing. I remember the day, and only recently, you know this because you guys listen to my classes, so I never ever speak about my divorce, and I never ever speak about the relationship that I had with my ex-husband, because I don't know if it's right to do that. But I will say this one little bit. The one little bit that I want to say here is that I remember being so torn, whether yes or no, because part of gaslighting is that you don't realize it's very confusing. I have never been more confused by any person in my entire life. So confusing. And I remember the thought, sitting in my car, I was living in New York at the time, and I was sitting in the car and I was looking at the sky, which was gray, New York sky, and I remember saying to God, I'm so miserable, I'm so sad, I don't know what to do. Help me know what the right decision to make is. What is the right decision? I don't know. And I called my therapist in that moment, and I said to her, what do I do? How do I know what to do? How do I know if to yes, leave or not to leave? What do I do? Because it was very not black and white. Even to her, it wasn't black and white. She was also confused. And she said to me something brilliant, and I'll never forget this. And this is what I tell all the women that call me and say, Deborah, can you tell me why you got divorced so I know why if I should get divorced? No. The only advice that I give women and help them figure out if yes or no is what she told me, this therapist on the phone. She said to me, Deborah, imagine if a bas kol would come out from Shemayim right now, if a heavenly voice came out from Shemayim right now and said to you, you will never, ever get remarried again. Ever. There will never be another man. There will never be another husband. There will never be another father for these children. There will never be another male figure in your life, in any capacity, in terms of marriage. Would you still go ahead with it? And that was the $1 million question. And that was the question that when I finally answered that question, which was about 2 days later, and the answer came back yes, I would be willing to be alone for the rest of my life. Yes. Then continue living the rest of my life like this. Then I knew that was the time I had to go. This was when it was over. And so if you're in a hard relationship, and if you're in a relationship where you're always feeling cruddy or bad, or like you're not enough, you're in this twist, and you don't even know if it's his fault or your fault, you just want to make him feel better, you just want him to love you, you just want him to like you, you just want him to accept you, you just want him to kiss you, you just want him to give you a hug, you just want him to get excited when you come home, or care about your day, or ask you questions about how your day was, or what you prefer, what you like, or anything normal, anything, okay? Then you got to know that if you're willing to go on this way for the rest of your life because you are scared of what's going to happen the morning after you get your get, or the morning after you get divorced, that's a big that's a big statement. And a lot of us don't make that statement. We just keep going. It's another day, another morning, another day, more errands, kids, thing. That's what Diana Raz did. She just kept going until he stopped her. So you have to know that if you're in a position where you don't know what to do, think about what I just told you. Think about what this therapist told me. If a bas kol would come out from Shemayim right now and say to you, you'll never get remarried. There will never be another man. There will never be another woman. But you will live like this for the rest of your life with the person that you are with. Which one would you choose? And that's your answer. That's your answer. And if any of those things, any of the red flags that I mentioned before, you are experiencing in your relationship, you have to reach out. You have to reach out to an abuse counselor. You have to reach out to a hotline. You have to reach out to somebody. You have to reach out to somebody, but not someone that's going to poo-poo it away. Not someone that's going to say, oh, he never laid a hand on you. What do you want? He never laid a hand on you. He supports you. He never cheated on you. He's pretty good. Don't listen to those people. Okay? Don't listen to those people. Very, very important for me to mention that. And, careful who you give to and careful who you receive from. Make sure that you are giving and receiving positivity. And if it's negativity, and it's constant negativity, it's from a friend or a spouse or a guy or a girl, whoever it is, if it's constantly negative, and you're always trying to make them feel better, and you're always trying to fill them up, and you're always trying to love them, and you're always trying to compensate, and you're always trying to walk on eggshells and not make too much noise, or not talk too loud, or not cut on the cutting board too loud, or not all the things that can happen, okay? Then remember that it's you could have a much better life. But you have to reach out. You have to reach out. All right. I'm going to stop here. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for all the love. We'll talk next week. Please share.